All right, this is TrueNews365.com. Check it out. I said that I was going to get into relationships, um, and this is a very good example here. This is a podcast on the Stereo app, and every time I log on to the Stereo app, there's this same podcast is being featured. Okay, and it's featured because it's very popular. Perhaps a lot of people attend it, and perhaps that's how Stereo categorizes or classifies their top podcast. And as you can see, there's like 100 people on here listening to this. The title is "Can Women Give Dating Advice?" And so, what I want to do here is I believe this is a very long podcast. I think down there it says like over 2 hours or something like that. I'm definitely not going to do a 2 hour podcast. All I can do is pick and nitpick on the aspects of stuff that they speak. As far as I can get, I'm actually going to only do like a couple of minutes long review of this, but I want to add this to maybe a little series that I'll do on talking about relationships. Now, as I've said before, in a previous talk that I did on relationships, I said basically that what we need is a standard. We need a reference point with regard to a standard of womanhood, manhood, marriage, our roles, our differences, our similarities. All of those things have to converge somewhere. Okay, to think that they're not going to converge somewhere and they're not going to be solidified somewhere, to think that that is for the greater society and the flourishing of humanity, is to be to be extremely misguided and to not really have a proper understanding. And as you can see, these people, these young folks, are here talking, and and they have their own 2 cents, and they offer their own 2 cents on how they see things, but are based on a secular mindset. In the beginning, one of these individuals talks about issues, and I expect that it's going to be popping up here and there with regard to the mention of religion, quote unquote. And so we're living in America, and Christianity is the main influence. And so when people talk religion, more than likely that's what they're referring to when they talk about religion, religious, whatever. But people push it aside. They scoff it. They kick it to the side. They kick it to the curb. They push it aside because it's like something that's supposedly repressive. Oh, it's old-fashioned. It's overly traditional. It's old-timers type stuff, and that's how people are seeing it today. What we don't recognize is that as we secularize a society, we become more pagan, and none of these things, all of these institutions, lose value. And you'll notice it by the cluelessness of the advice and the perspective that these folks bring to the table with discussion to relationships. So without further ado, I'm going to try to grab on and steal and grip some of these perspectives that they're talking about. So I'm going to press play here, and let's hear the way they think and what they're talking about, and I will be commenting in between.
From that place, your relationship with all women is contemptuous, and then also you place a higher value on getting the approval of other men. So when that's the case, I usually ask them what kind of women they're going for. And what I have found is the one thing that everyone seems to be missing when they're dating is that the first thing you have to do is you have to establish that the person actually likes you. It sounds very silly, but what I have found is a lot of the time that men, you guys tend to go for the woman who reminds you of the woman who rejected you, or the woman who is aspirational in some way. You look like, I don't know, Danny DeVito, but you want Megan Fox. You
Okay, so she in the beginning started talking about the fact that some men are in abusive relationships with their wives, but then they end up wanting to find a woman that is like their mom or reminds them of their mom. I think that psychologically, perhaps that's because that's the first influence that they've known, and perhaps, yeah, she's absolutely right. things will be altered from there. That's why there's a standard of motherhood. So even if you have a wicked Kathy Bates type mother, then if you understand, if you have the knowledge of understanding that there is a standard of what a mother should be, a standard of what a wife is supposed to be, a standard of what a sister is supposed to be, a standard of what a woman in general, a mother, a matriarch is supposed to be, then that would bypass, okay, the fact that you've been locked in a closet for who knows how long, or your mother wasn't very loving, or whatever. We all come through our various traumas in life. But again, if there's a standard, there's a reference point. If there's a reference point, when we drift off, we have a lighthouse that would direct us back to our
No,
path.
know that you're not equally yoked, so you immediately start off a dynamic where you are working for her. So, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. I mean, I didn't want to cut off, but I had something there. But if you want to keep going.
Yes. So you already start with the idea that that love in a relationship is something you have to work for, as opposed to having an attitude that a lot of people, and I believe healthy people, have, is that I am lovable, and therefore love is something that I kind of inherently deserve because I'm capable of giving it, capable of showing it, and I also behave in a way that's observant of the social contract, so I'm decent to be around. When you start chasing after a person who, like, it's like those guys online who are complaining about the Instagram models. You want those women, but if you didn't have the things that those women wanted, which is the cars, to be able to buy her things, pay her in Bitcoin or whatever the case may be, if you don't have those things, she's not interested in you. So at the same time that you're lusting after her, you're resentful of her, and then she uses you, because that's what happens. You're
That's pretty psychological. That's pretty deep what she's talking about. I can't disagree with what she's talking about, because that very well could be the case.
or you get licked, and then you take it out on the next chick. It's not that there's no woman that doesn't want. Every single man in this chat right now could not only have a woman who would love to marry him, he can also have another woman who's probably just happy being single and just wants somebody to play with every now and again. But you want a woman that is
Someone to play with. What could she possibly mean about that?
either outside of your reach, or you want a woman who wants you for the things that you have in a toxic way. And I'm sorry I'm
All right.
long
So
winded.
no, it's okay. There's a lot to unpack there. So I mean, again, I don't want to come at you here, but like this is another example of a very roundabout way of not saying a whole lot, right? I'm asking you for actionable advice, and what would you tell? And you're talking about, well, if he was abused by his mother or his stepfather, then he's fucked up. Like, this is the problem that I have when I have these kind of conversations.
Oh, by the way, in case I don't know how long this podcast is going to last, but as if just forgive me for I don't have the feature to edit all of the diarrhea of the mouth that you're going to be able to hear, all the depravity that comes out of people's mouths and stuff. Some people just don't know how to speak proper English, other than just to vomit, express themselves in this way. So I apologize in advance.
I'm trying to drill down into the specifics on actionable items that you say, like, this guy's calling you, saying, an average run of the mill guy. Look, like, does it happen? Sure. Are they outliers? Yes. Is every guy out there that sucks with women, is it a result that he was abused by his mother or his stepfather? No. So it's so a couple of things, like I'm trying to drill down to your average 80% man, a guy that is not having success with the success he wants in life with women. And I also don't necessarily agree that it's because men want to work for women and because they see themselves as lesser than for so like I already off the bat, like, I don't buy the premise that men are bad with women because it always comes from some sort of abuse, always.
That if you clean out the gutters and you do all of that stuff that women will want you, we get told that if we cook and we clean and we do this and we put our legs behind our head and we can blow you from, like, we can do all of this stuff. And plenty
Okay,
of women, there are no shortage of women who are contorting themselves into pretzels right now online, doing everything they possibly can to attract men.
here we go. Here we go again. Once again, if there's a standard, right? There's a standard that that men are looking for. There's a standard that women are looking for. Okay? There's a woman has a standard of what a woman is and what a woman is supposed to be and expect. A man has a standard of what a man is supposed to be and what a man is supposed to expect, right? So here, what we're having is chaos and clash and crashing between what they're supposed to do. Okay, I don't know if you can listen carefully, you'll recognize that what they really the basis of their arguing is she's saying, well, this is what the standard is, and he's saying this is what the standard is, and so they're arriving and they're clashing as to what the expectations are. And this is what I always say, that the problems are that people have various expectations on various things, okay, and they cannot meet because it's chaos and chaos. She doesn't agree with him as to what a woman is or what a man is. He doesn't agree with her as to what a woman is and what a man is, or rather what their expectations are, what their roles are, what their positions are in society. So naturally, you're going to have chaos. You're going to have just a mixed mesh confusion with regard to expectations.
only to get the exact
Male
same result.
attention.
That's
You follow
different,
you.
though. No, now that's conflating two things. That's different. Bending over backwards and being good in bed and putting your ankles behind your head for your man and your man only is far different than showing your asshole on Instagram to tens of thousands of men. It's
But
completely
why?
My
different.
goodness.
Not the same
But
I
the
thing.
may,
average
I may not be able to
that
share
you
this.
okay, I understand that. But you asked me for advice on the average
Note to self, find a good editing program.
man. So we also need to
Sure.
include the woman. The average woman is not spreading it open on
No,
Instagram.
it's like
Oh,
I'm
my
I'll look
goodness.
at yourself.
that and
Jeez.
behaviorally and aesthetically that women find attractive,
Right, but
right?
a
Like
lot of
that's what we're talking about.
Well, I think they're kind of stuck on the whole superficial looks thing. Again, the standard that says that your beauty is superficially important, but objectively important on the inside. Okay, is that's something that comes from Scripture. Okay, the Lord has told us that the beauty of a woman comes from inside and how much she loves her Lord. What happens on the outside is supposed to be superficial. Okay, when you come out in the world tells you in so many more ways than one. They'll tell you that the beauty is what you look like. While it says that it's not supposed to be that way, it continues to be that way in it's hypocrisy. We continue seeing it. We'll continue seeing it no matter what. And people will continue emulating people that show off the bling bling, the how big your butt is, how pretty you are. And as much as people say it's what's inside, they truly don't mean it. They don't hold it to a standard in their lives. Okay, and so that's the messaging of the world. It's hypocrisy.
But it took us this long to drill down to like, don't be fat, don't be fucking ugly, like don't have. Right,
Let's see
Chad?
what we can
But
pick up
party
here.
sluts have a higher likelihood than a girl who's like an accountant and she hasn't been laid in a
Sure.
year.
I can't.
relationship with another person, whether it be with, same sex or opposite sex, whatever. What you want is a person who's a playmate. You want someone you can play with and be yourself with in that regard, not in the regard that your mother or whatever was telling you just go on a first date and be yourself. No, I want to be myself with you because if I want to do something really kinky, I want to know you won't judge me for it. I want to know you won't.
There you go. Okay, so when you say that you're going to do something kinky, is it because it's you or because you're pretending to be somebody else? Okay, now why would you be pretending to be something else? Okay, to please somebody who has a standard of being pleased with something else, something that's kinky, but yet somehow you've got some kind of veneer of respect you're supposed to be. So what's the veneer? What the veneer is the veneer of integrity, or are you supposed to have the veneer of the sluttiness? Okay, so a little sluttiness is fun. But what is that? You're supposed to be pure with a veneer of sluttiness, or are you supposed to be slutty with a veneer of holiness or of wholesomeness? These people cannot get it together. Well, I'm going to cut this right here short because I think I'm going to need an editing program. I don't think I could continue forward with this. Okay. because it's extremely interesting just to see this a snippet, a chunk of the way secular world thinks, and the job, the fine job secularism has done on people's minds when they kick what they think is religion to the curb, and they kick it to the side, and then they go, oh, but definitely not this, definitely not this, this is a plague, this is imposing, this is yeah. But then now they're trying to figure out, okay, how to get along, and the war of the sexes continues. Okay, reminds me of that cool song, Sade, I think the War of the Hearts. Oh, that's such a good song. um, it definitely, I might actually put that in the background because it's just this is what happens when we don't have a standard, when we don't have a reference point that we can clearly see. This is when it's every man for themselves, every woman for themselves, when women don't, just leave their roles in the proper domain where God has put us. Okay, we have to figure out what that is, and the scriptures speak about what that is. It can teach us the standard and how, why we need to follow, why we need to, it's like the saying, do not uproot a fence until you know what it was placed there for. Okay, and so the wisdom is seek God's wisdom, and that's he instituted relationships, he instituted man and woman, wife and husband. And so I think he would have something to say about relationships and how they're supposed to work together, despite what the secular mindset has taught many people today. Okay? So that's why relationships are so difficult today, because nobody knows their roles. Okay? Okay, thanks for watching this short little video, listening to this little podcast. For more, check out TrueNews365.com for commentary, blogs, and a podcast. Okay, and check out my podcast on anchor.fm/TrueNews365.com. You can leave me a message, any questions or comments I may use on a subsequent podcast, and answer them. Okay, until next time, seek his face always in Jesus' name. God bless.